Every NFL team has had a guy. But who was the guy? The quarterback that made the city believe, the one fans still talk about years later. Today we break down every team's best quarterback since 2000, not just by stats, but by impact. The clutch throws, the impossible comebacks, the leadership that defined a franchise. From Brady in New England to Lamar in Baltimore, these aren't just players, they're legends. So, who made the biggest mark on your team? Stick around, because the answer might surprise you. And the stories definitely will. New England Patriots, Tom Brady. In 2001, a skinny kid with floppy hair and a chip on his shoulder walked onto the field as a sixth-round pick, armed with nothing but belief. Nobody expected much. He was slow. He wasn't built like a star. And he was backing up Drew Bledsoe, a franchise cornerstone. But then Bledsoe got hurt, and Tom Brady never gave the job back. What followed was the greatest quarterback career in NFL history. Over the next 2 decades, Brady led the New England Patriots to 6 Super Bowl titles, 9 AFC championships, and an unprecedented level of sustained dominance. He didn't just win, he outlasted, outprepared, and outworked an entire league. The numbers are absurd. Over 74,000 passing yards, 541 touchdowns, 3 league MVPs, and more game-winning drives than most franchises have in their history. But what made Brady feared wasn't just the stats. It was the inevitability. You could be up by 25 in the Super Bowl, like the Falcons in Super Bowl 51. Didn't matter. Brady was still coming. He carved up Atlanta like it was routine. 28-3 became just another chapter in the book of Never Bet Against Brady. He was the ultimate embodiment of do your job. Belichick's mantra made flesh. He took pay cuts so the team could build around him. He studied harder, trained longer, and led better than anyone else. He was the constant in a league built on chaos. When he left New England in 2020, it felt like the end of an empire, like watching the Statue of Liberty get carried away. He gave New England more than wins. He gave them identity. He gave them immortality. New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees. In 2006, the city of New Orleans was still on its knees. Hurricane Katrina had left scars that would last generations. Physical, emotional, spiritual. And into that devastation walked Drew Brees, a discarded quarterback with a shredded shoulder and something to prove. He wasn't supposed to be the answer, but that's exactly what he became. With head coach Sean Payton, Brees helped engineer one of the most electric offenses the league had ever seen. He turned undersized receivers into stars and a forgotten franchise into a juggernaut. He didn't have a cannon. He wasn't flashy, but he was surgical. He was relentless. He was brilliant. At the time of his retirement, Brees held records for career passing yards, completions, and consecutive games with a touchdown. But more than the stats, it was the spirit he brought. Every Sunday, win or lose, he gave New Orleans something to believe in. His greatest moment came in Super Bowl 44, when he outdueled Peyton Manning and lifted the Saints to their first and only championship. That image, Brees holding his infant son as confetti rained down, became symbolic. A city reborn, a man redeemed. He wasn't just a quarterback, he was family. He was faith. He was home. Indianapolis Colts. Peyton Manning. Before Peyton Manning, the Indianapolis Colts were a trivia answer, a footnote, a team that had history, sure, but no identity, no dominance. Then came the man with the laser arm, the photographic memory, and a football IQ that bordered on terrifying. Drafted number 1 overall in 1998, Manning was thrown into the fire from day one, and while his rookie year was rough, he never looked back. By the early 2000s, he had become the most cerebral quarterback the game had ever seen. He called his own plays. He audibled at the line with surgical precision. He turned the Colts into a well-oiled machine, dissecting defenses before the ball was even snapped. 4 MVPs, multiple 4,000-yard seasons, and the elusive Super Bowl 41 victory in 2006 when he finally answered the critics. His connection with Marvin Harrison, Reggie Wayne, and Dallas Clark made Indy's offense unstoppable, and his battles with Tom Brady became the defining rivalry of the decade. Even after a neck injury forced him out of Indy and into Denver, Colts fans never turned. They knew what he meant. His statue outside Lucas Oil Stadium is more than bronze. It's a symbol of everything he built. Peyton Manning didn't just win, he elevated the game. Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers. When Brett Favre walked away the first time, most thought no one could follow that act. And then, Aaron Rodgers stepped in and made impossible look easy. Drafted in 2005 and sitting for 3 years, Rodgers finally got his chance in 2008. From that moment on, he transformed the Packers into perennial contenders. His release? Lightning quick. His accuracy? Surgical. His creativity? Otherworldly. Rodgers didn't just make the right throws, he made the impossible throws. The rolling left lasers. The no-look bullets. The Hail Marys that actually worked multiple times. In 2010, he went on a playoff tear that felt like destiny. 3 road wins, then a Super Bowl 45 victory against the Steelers. He won 4 MVPs, threw for 59,000 plus yards, and holds one of the best touchdown-to-interception ratios in history. But what defined Rodgers more than anything was elegance under chaos. When the play broke down, that's when he was at his best. The moment looked lost, and suddenly he found magic. He was complex, private, occasionally polarizing. But on Sundays, he was art. Seattle Seahawks, Russell Wilson. Too short, too unconventional. That's what the scouts said. But Russell Wilson didn't care. Drafted in the 3rd round in 2012, he wasn't supposed to start. By week 1, he had won the job. By year 2, he was a Super Bowl champion. Wilson became the heartbeat of the Seattle Seahawks, the calm center of a team built on chaos and destruction. With the Legion of Boom on defense and Marshawn Lynch in the backfield, Seattle was fearsome. But it was Wilson's poise, leadership, and improvisational brilliance that tied it all together. His signature? The broken play miracle, the spin move, the escape, the perfect throw. Like a magician, Wilson made impossible seem inevitable. His comeback against the Packers in the 2014 NFC Championship was the stuff of legend. Down 16-0, 4 interceptions. And then out of nowhere, a comeback for the ages. He holds almost every meaningful quarterback record in Seahawks history. But more than that, he gave Seattle an identity, a reason to believe. He was humble. He was hungry. He was the face of a franchise. And for a time, the league. Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger. When you think of Steelers football, you think defense, toughness, and tradition. But starting in 2004, Ben Roethlisberger gave that tradition a new face. He didn't just match the identity of Pittsburgh, he became it. Drafted 11th overall out of Miami of Ohio, Roethlisberger was supposed to sit and learn. But when injury struck in week 2 of his rookie season, he was thrown into the fire and never gave the job back. He went 13-0 as a starter that year, an NFL record for a rookie. Suddenly, the Steelers weren't just a defensive juggernaut. They had a quarterback who could take over games. And it wasn't always pretty. Ben didn't play like the polished passes of his era. He was messy, chaotic, and impossible to bring down. At 6 feet 5 inches, 240 pounds, he played like a tight end with a cannon. Defensive ends would wrap him up, only to get shrugged off like a hoodie in summer. He turned busted plays into touchdowns, backyard chaos into primetime magic. In just his 2nd season, Roethlisberger became the youngest quarterback ever to win a Super Bowl. But his true legacy came a few years later. In Super Bowl 43, down 23-20 with just over 2 minutes left, Roethlisberger led one of the greatest drives in NFL history. It ended with a bullet to the back corner of the end zone, where Santonio Holmes reached out and tapped his toes like he was painting on glass. That throw, that catch, that moment, it's still replayed every February. a reminder of Big Ben's clutch gene. But Roethlisberger wasn't just about the rings or the numbers, though he had plenty of both. Over 64,000 passing yards, more than 400 touchdowns, dozens of comeback wins, 18 seasons as the face of one of the league's most iconic franchises. He played hurt, constantly, sprained knees, torn ligaments, broken noses. He never made excuses. One week, he'd be in a walking boot. The next, he'd be throwing for 300 yards. Steelers fans didn't love him because he was perfect. They loved him because he showed up, took hits, and kept going. Just like them. Off the field, his career had turbulence. Early controversies and maturity issues nearly defined him. But over time, Roethlisberger rebuilt his image. He became a veteran leader, a franchise rock, and the glue for a team that changed coaches, receivers, and coordinators more times than anyone could count. He retired in 2022, but his legacy is everywhere. From the scramble drills kids run in backyard games to the way Pittsburgh still expects their quarterback to take a hit and stand tall. Ben Roethlisberger didn't just play for the Steelers. He played like one. And now, from Iron City toughness to Kansas City fireworks. The next quarterback has already carved his name into history books. Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes. If you blink, you might miss a highlight. That's what Patrick Mahomes brought to the Kansas City Chiefs. Not just a new quarterback, but an entirely new way to experience football. From the moment he stepped on the field, everything felt different. Faster, riskier, more alive. Drafted 10th overall. In 2017, Mahomes spent most of his rookie season watching from the sideline behind Alex Smith, a veteran who had helped stabilize the team but had clear limitations. When Mahomes finally took over in 2018, it felt like someone had turned up the brightness on the whole league. In his first full season as a starter, Mahomes threw for over 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns. He won NFL MVP, became a household name, and instantly turned Kansas City into must-watch television. Defenders couldn't figure him out. Coaches couldn't scheme for him. And fans? They couldn't believe what they were seeing. One Reddit user wrote, "It's like God made a quarterback in Madden and just gave him all the sliders." But Mahomes isn't just flash. He's one of the smartest, toughest, and most competitive players in the game. Behind the no-look passes, the left-handed throws, and the off-platform rockets is a guy who studies relentlessly and hates losing more than anything. He's a film room junkie, a locker room leader, and the heartbeat of one of the league's most explosive offenses. In 2019, he brought the Chiefs their first Super Bowl in 50 years. That playoff run became instant legend. 3 straight double-digit comebacks, capped off with a 21-point fourth quarter in the Super Bowl against the 49ers. When everything seemed lost, Mahomes made magic happen, again and again, and that was just the beginning. He's now led the Chiefs to 4 Super Bowl appearances and won 3 of them. He has 2 league MVPs, 3 Super Bowl MVPs, and holds nearly every postseason record for a quarterback his age. His connection with head coach Andy Reid has become one of the most dangerous duos in football history. Reid gives him the freedom, and Mahomes rewards him with brilliance. And then there's the physical ability. Sidearm zips, back foot bombs, scramble drills that end in 60-yard touchdowns. Defensive coordinators say trying to stop Mahomes is like chasing a ghost in a hurricane. But what separates him is that he's never satisfied. Whether he's down 10 or up 30, he plays with the same fire. That's what makes him not just a highlight machine, but a winner. Patrick Mahomes is already being mentioned in the same breath as Brady, Montana, and Manning. Not because of what he might do, but because of what he's already done. And he's only just getting started. Now, from new blood to old loyalty, the next quarterback never won a ring, but still earned every bit of his legend. Los Angeles Chargers, Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers never played in a Super Bowl. He never had an MVP season. But if you watched him on Sundays, you knew this guy could ball. And for 15 seasons, He was the emotional engine of the Chargers, whether in San Diego or Los Angeles. Rivers was known for his sidearm motion, lightning-fast release, and competitive fire. Trash talk? He was elite, all without ever cursing. But more than anything, he was reliable. He started 240 straight games, never missing a start due to injury. His 2007 AFC Championship game performance, playing with a torn ACL, became legendary, even in defeat. He ended his career with 59,000-plus passing yards, 397 touchdowns, and countless fourth-quarter comebacks. Rivers wasn't flashy, but he was always there. And for a franchise that often struggled for identity, he became its heartbeat. Even after retirement, Chargers fans talk about him with a mix of pride, nostalgia, and what if. Next up, a quarterback who came heartbreakingly close and still carried a franchise on his back for over a decade. Atlanta Falcons, Matt Ryan. No quarterback in Atlanta Falcons history meant more or lasted longer than Matt Ryan. Drafted third overall in 2008, Ryan entered a franchise in crisis. Just a year before, the Falcons had watched their future, Michael Vick, vanish in the wake of a dogfighting scandal that shocked the NFL. The team was in freefall. Morale was shot. Confidence in leadership was gone. And then Ryan arrived, calm, quiet, and ready to work. On his very first NFL pass, Ryan threw a 62-yard touchdown. It was a sign of things to come. Not flash, not headlines, but precision, efficiency, and class. Ryan didn't just restore the franchise, he gave it purpose. From that moment on, the Falcons had a quarterback they could count on every single Sunday. Over 14 seasons, Ryan rewrote the Falcons' record books. Over 60,000. Passing yards, 367 touchdowns, and 4 Pro Bowl selections. But his defining year came in 2016, when everything clicked. Ryan threw for nearly 5,000 yards, had a 117.1 passer rating, and won NFL MVP. He carved up defenses with ease, spreading the ball to Julio Jones, Mohamed Sanu, and Devonta Freeman. That team wasn't just good, they were dominant. In the NFC Championship, Ryan dismantled Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, sending Atlanta to just its second Super Bowl ever. And then came Super Bowl 51, the game that would define, and in some ways, overshadow his career. With 8:31 left in the third quarter, the Falcons led the New England Patriots 28-3. The Lombardi Trophy felt within reach. Ryan had been nearly flawless, throwing darts, evading pressure, managing the clock. But then everything unraveled. Bad play calling, missed blocks, a defense that couldn't hold up. The Patriots mounted the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history. Atlanta lost 34-28 in overtime. And though the loss became a meme, a punchline, and a scar, it wasn't on Ryan. His final stat line, 17 of 23, 284 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He played like a champion. After that, things slowly regressed. Coaches came and went. The roster got older. Injuries mounted. But Ryan never stopped fighting. He played through every rebuild, every scheme change, every heartbreak. He remained the ultimate pro, showing up, putting in the work, never pointing fingers. When Ryan was traded to the Indianapolis Colts in 2022, it felt like the end of an era. Not just for the Falcons, but for a style of quarterbacking built on rhythm and resilience. Atlanta moved on, but the fans never really let go. Ask any Falcons fan today, and they'll tell you. Matt Ryan gave them years of hope. He gave them their best shot. He made them believe. And that's what great quarterbacks do. They show up, even when the story doesn't end the way it should. And from that calm, calculated consistency, we now pivot to something entirely different. A quarterback who didn't just play the game, he made it a performance. The next man was never about playing safe. He was about making statements, on and off the field. Carolina Panthers, Cam Newton. There's never been another Cam Newton. Drafted number 1 overall in 2011, Superman brought a rare mix of size, power, and flair to the Carolina Panthers, and he changed the game. In 2015, Newton had one of the greatest seasons a quarterback's ever had. 35 passing touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns, and a 15-1 record. He ran over defenders, danced in the end zone, and smiled through it all. He won NFL MVP and led the Panthers to Super Bowl 50. Though they lost to the Denver Broncos, Newton's impact went beyond wins. He made Carolina fun. He brought swagger to a franchise that had lacked identity. Kids wore Superman shirts. He gave the ball to every child after a touchdown. He was joy personified. Injuries slowed him down, and his time in Carolina ended with more questions than answers. But ask any Panthers fan. Cam was the man, and still is. Next up, we head north to one of football's most loyal cities, and a quarterback who gave them everything, even when the wins didn't come. Detroit Lions, Matthew Stafford. No quarterback captured the soul of the Detroit Lions quite like Matthew Stafford. Drafted number 1st overall. In 2009, he walked into a franchise that had just gone 0-16, a team considered the laughingstock of the NFL. But Stafford wasn't here to play it safe. He showed up, put his head down, and got to work. Stafford was the epitome of grit. For over a decade, he was the heartbeat of the Lions, playing through broken bones, torn ligaments, and awful seasons. He threw for over 45,000 yards and 282 touchdowns with Detroit, leading multiple fourth-quarter comebacks. But what defined him wasn't just his cannon arm or numbers. It was the fact that no matter how bad things got, Stafford never quit. The 2009 game against the Cleveland Browns still gives fans chills. With his separated shoulder, Stafford insisted on re-entering the game for one final play, and threw the game-winning touchdown. That moment summed up his Detroit career. Painful, heroic, and entirely selfless. He gave everything to the city. Through coaching changes, bad drafts, and teams that couldn't protect him, Stafford kept showing up. His connection with Calvin Johnson was one of the few bright lights in a decade of darkness. Together, they made the Lions relevant, even if briefly. In 2021, the franchise finally gave him a fresh start, trading him to the Los Angeles Rams. And what happened next? A Super Bowl. Watching him lift the Lombardi Trophy wasn't just redemption, it felt like a win for Detroit too. And now, from relentless loyalty to revolutionary style, the next quarterback redefined what it means to play the position. Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson. When the Baltimore Ravens selected Lamar Jackson with the final pick of the first round in 2018, analysts questioned everything. Could he really play quarterback at the NFL level? Was he accurate enough? The Ravens answered those doubts with a system, and Lamar answered them with history. By 2019, Jackson had become the unanimous MVP, only the second player in league history to earn that honor. He rushed for 1,206 yards, an NFL record for QBs, and threw for 36 touchdowns. He made defenders miss like he was playing Madden on rookie difficulty. What makes Lamar's story powerful isn't just what he does. It's how he carries himself. Quiet, respectful, focused. His teammates love him. His city backs him. And his opponents fear him. John Harbaugh built an entire offensive philosophy around Jackson's unique gifts, and it worked. In 2020, Jackson finally got his first playoff win, silencing critics who said he couldn't win in January. His 48-yard TD run against Tennessee was vintage Lamar. Shift, burst, and gone. And he's still writing his story. Still chasing a Super Bowl. Still proving that quarterbacks don't have to fit one mold to be great. Next up, a quarterback who lived in the spotlight and somehow always carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. Dallas Cowboys, Tony Romo. If you were a Dallas Cowboys fan in the 2000s and 2010s, your Sundays were filled with hope, heartbreak, and Tony Romo. Undrafted out of Eastern Illinois, Romo wasn't supposed to be the next franchise quarterback. but he turned into one. Taking over in 2006, Romo brought flair to a team in desperate need of energy. He threw for 34,183 yards, 248 touchdowns, and made 4 Pro Bowls. But he'll always be remembered more for moments than milestones. He could spin out of sacks, scramble on a broken play, and fire a strike 30 yards downfield. He made magic, sometimes reckless, often brilliant. The botched hold against Seattle in the 2006 playoffs? Heartbreaking. The no-catch call on Dez Bryant in the 2014 divisional game? Controversial. Romo's legacy is tied to near misses, but also unforgettable highs. And through all the pain, Romo stayed loyal. He played with cracked ribs, a punctured lung, and broken bones. When Dak Prescott emerged in 2016, Romo stepped aside with class, saying, "Football is a meritocracy." Now, he's become one of the NFL's most beloved broadcasters. But to Cowboys fans, Romo will always be the one who almost was. Let's now go from heartbreak to steadiness, where a different kind of quarterback gave his franchise belief. San Francisco 49ers, Jimmy Garoppolo. Following legends like Joe Montana and Steve Young is a thankless job. But in the post-2000 world, Jimmy Garoppolo brought structure, stability, and wins to the San Francisco 49ers. Acquired from the New England Patriots in 2017, Jimmy G immediately sparked a 5-0 finish. In 2019, he led the Niners to a 13-3 record and a Super Bowl 54 appearance. That team was built on defense and a run game. But Jimmy made the throws when they mattered most. Critics pointed to missed deep balls and injuries. But his record? 38-17 as a starter. His poise, under pressure? Unmatched. His teammates trusted him, especially during the 2021 and 2022 playoff runs. Garoppolo might never have been flashy, but he fit what the 49ers needed. A leader who didn't panic, didn't complain, and just won games. Until Brock Purdy, Trey Lance, or someone else takes over long-term, Jimmy G remains the standard for post-Y2K 49ers QBs. Now to South Beach, where a carousel of QBs spun endlessly until one man brought a glimmer of magic. Miami Dolphins, Chad Pennington. Since Dan Marino, the Miami Dolphins have searched for stability at quarterback, and while many came and went, no one had a brighter flash than Chad Pennington in 2008. Signed, after being cut by the New York Jets, Pennington didn't have elite arm strength, but he had precision, leadership, and heart. That year, the Dolphins went from 1-15 to 11-5, winning the AFC East and stunning the league. Pennington threw 19 touchdowns to just 7 picks, posted a 97.4 passer rating, and led a team that relied on the Wildcat formation and sheer belief. His short stint was the last time Miami truly felt in control at quarterback. Injuries cut his career short, but fans still speak his name with reverence. He didn't last long, but he gave Miami its last taste of real quarterback competence until Tua Tagovailoa's rise. And now, we close with the quarterback whose greatness was unmatched and whose legacy became clouded. Houston Texans, Deshaun Watson. The Houston Texans, founded in 2002, had never found the guy. Then came Deshaun Watson in 2017, and everything changed. By 2020, Watson had thrown for 4,823 yards, 33 touchdowns, and just 7 interceptions, all behind a battered offensive line. He was electric, creative, fearless. He dragged Houston to playoff wins, including a thrilling comeback over Buffalo. Fans believed he was the future, but off the field, everything unraveled. More than 20 civil lawsuits accused Watson of sexual misconduct. The team benched him for all of 2021. The public trust was shattered. In 2022, he was traded to the Cleveland Browns, creating one of the most controversial contracts in league history. Watson's on-field legacy in Houston is undeniable, but his overall story remains clouded. He gave the Texans hope, then left them in turmoil. In the end, greatness isn't just about talent, it's about what you leave behind and who still believes in you when the lights go out. Those were the quarterbacks who shaped their teams, their cities, and entire eras of football. If you enjoyed the ride, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for more deep dives, and drop your team's GOAT in the comments. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.